The story, characters, and incidents portrayed in this video/audio are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. No part of this work may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. This story is a work of fiction created for entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this narrative are solely those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any associated entities or individuals.
Welcome to Monsters and Mysteries, the channel where the unknown and the unexplained come to life. Dive deep into the world of chilling tales and enigmatic legends. From the depths of the ocean to the heart of forgotten forests, we explore the most captivating and spine-tingling stories from around the globe. Join us as we unravel the secrets of legendary monsters, investigate ancient myths, and decode mysterious phenomena. Each episode, we bring you a new monster or mystery of the week, accompanied by thrilling tales. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, Monsters and Mysteries offers a journey into the uncharted territories of our world. Subscribe and join us every week for a new adventure into the unknown.
Case 2. The Bounty in the Black Rock Desert. Chapter 1. The Hunter's Resolve. Alicia Kane, with her auburn hair often tied in a functional ponytail, exuded an air of confident determination. Her piercing green eyes missed nothing, a trait that made her a formidable bounty hunter. Known as one of the best bounty hunters in the business, she had always prided herself on her impeccable track record. Her latest assignment, however, carried an ominous air. Her target, Nathan Reed, last seen skipping towns across the deserts of Nevada, was a seemingly average criminal, but the mysterious disappearance of her peers who had pursued him lent an air of danger to this assignment. Alicia's journey took her through the arid expanses of Nevada, where the sun beat down mercilessly during the day and the chill of the desert night seeped into her bones. Town after town, she pieced together Reed's trail, her instincts guiding her through the desolate landscape. Chapter 2. Capturing Shadows. After weeks of relentless tracking, following leads that seemed to evaporate like mirages in the desert, Alicia finally traced Reed to a nondescript town skirting the Black Rock Desert. She observed him discreetly, a shadow among shadows. Alicia's intuition, honed by years of tracking the most elusive targets, sensed no immediate danger. He was of average build, with unremarkable features and a quiet demeanor. She watched him from a distance, noting his mundane activities, eating at a local diner, frequenting bars at night, and staying in a cheap motel. Despite her vigilance, she couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. In the ensuing days, as Alicia continued her discreet surveillance, she began to entertain the notion that perhaps the alarming warnings she had received were somewhat overstated. It seemed conceivable that the previous bounty hunters, failing to locate Reed, had simply moved on to pursue other bounties. Yet, this line of reasoning left unanswered questions lingering in her mind. Why had there been no word from them in their usual circles? It was possible, she reasoned, that some might have met with misfortune or encountered peril while on the trail of other, more dangerous quarries. A few days later, confident that Reed posed no unusual threat, Alicia made her move. In the dim light of a Nevada evening, Alicia confronted Reed near his motel. The moment was swift, a quick scuffle, a flash of her taser, and he was down. Handcuffed and secured in her truck, Reed was a surprisingly easy catch. Chapter 3. Stranded. The desert was unforgiving. As consciousness slowly crept back into his senses, the criminal, Nathan Reed, gradually became aware of his predicament. The initial fog of confusion cleared from his mind, replaced by the stark realization of what had transpired. Reed found himself handcuffed and confined, the back of a truck serving as his temporary cell. The events leading up to this moment began to piece themselves together in his awakening consciousness. Reed's attempts to charm and even bribe his way out of handcuffs were met with her stoic indifference. Despite his efforts, none of his tactics seemed to sway the unyielding Alicia. Just as resignation began to set in, a stroke of fortune unexpectedly tilted in his favor. The unforeseen turn of events seemed to offer Reed a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. Their journey through the Black Rock Desert was cut short when her truck broke down, leaving them stranded. Alicia's frustration was palpable. Alicia's frustration mounted as she discovered that her mobile phone was rendered useless, devoid of any signal in the vast, desolate expanse of the desert. Her attempts to breathe life back into her truck proved futile. Each effort to repair the stubborn machine ended in failure, leaving them stranded in the unforgiving wilderness. They camped under the starlit sky, the desert's eerie silence enveloping them. Alicia remained vigilant and awake to prevent any escape attempts from Reed. Chapter 4. A Forced Bond. As the first rays of the morning sun pierced the horizon, Alicia felt the weight of exhaustion bearing down on her. Her eyes, heavy with fatigue, reflected the toll of the endless, vigilant night. Reed, seizing the moment, began to articulate their dire situation.
"Listen,"
he urged, his voice laced with earnestness.
"We're in a real bind here. This road is rarely traveled, and the nearest towns are too distant to reach on foot before our water runs out."
He glanced around the barren landscape, then added,
"Not to mention the mountain lions and other predators lurking around. You staying up all night to keep watch, it's only going to wear you down even more."
His words hung in the air, highlighting the gravity of their predicament. By afternoon, Alicia's fatigue was palpable. Reed seized the opportunity to suggest a shortcut through the mountains, claiming knowledge of the local terrain. Reluctantly, Alicia agreed, warning him against any treachery. That same night, the relentless grip of exhaustion finally overcame Alicia. She succumbed to a deep, vulnerable sleep, a stark contrast to her usual state of alertness. Upon waking the next morning, her eyes snapped open, instantly flooded with a sense of dread, fearing what might have transpired while she was unconscious. To her surprise, she found Reed seated calmly across from her, offering a simple
"Good morning,"
with an air of nonchalance.
Don't worry.
He assured her, a hint of sincerity in his voice.
I couldn't have gone far with these handcuffs on, and I wouldn't dare risk any moves against you. Survival is my only goal right now.
Reed's gaze met hers as he continued.
"You know my record, just petty crimes, nothing violent. Trust me, at least until we get out of this situation. It's in both our best interests to work together."
His words, infused with a pragmatic honesty, aimed to build a fragile bridge of trust in their precarious circumstances. In the days that followed, a reluctant camaraderie formed. Reed shared stories of his travels, his voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. Alicia, though guarded, found herself listening. Their conversations, initially terse, grew more relaxed as they traversed the rugged desert terrain. Their journey took a dramatic turn when Reed saved Alicia from a rattlesnake attack, earning a grudging respect from her. Chapter 5. The Descent into Darkness. Days later, they sighted a mountainous area. Approaching the mountains, Reed pointed to a hidden cave. Despite her growing trust in Reed, Alicia's instincts screamed caution. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion.
"You expect me to trust you, after everything?"
she challenged. Reed's eyes met hers.
"I'm not your enemy, Alicia. We're both fighting to survive.
He proposed camping at the mountain's base and exploring in the morning if she felt safer in the daylight. Reluctantly, Alicia agreed to the proposal, and next morning she ventured to explore the cave along with Reed. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. Shadows danced in the flickering light of their torches, creating an ominous atmosphere. Daylight outside did not feel safe anymore. Within the cave's pitch darkness, the concept of time seemed to dissolve. For Alicia and Reed, the outside world, whether bathed in the light of midday or shrouded in the cloak of midnight, became an irrelevant notion. Chapter 6. Unearthly Horrors. Navigating cautiously, they had made their way about halfway through the cavernous passage where the cave opened into a larger chamber, when a faint glimmer of light caught their attention a few yards ahead. Reed, peering into the dimness, speculated.
Maybe it's other travelers, lost like us, taking a moment to rest by a fire.
As they drew closer, Alicia's eyes discerned the fire, around which a few figures were gathered. A wave of relief washed over her, thinking they were not alone in this underground labyrinth. However, as they approached nearer, that fleeting sense of comfort evaporated, giving way to a chilling apprehension. The scene before her, initially a beacon of hope, began to morph into something far more sinister. They had stumbled upon a ghastly scene. Hunched, grotesque creatures with mottled skin and sharp, jagged teeth surrounded a fire. Their guttural growls and snarls filled the air, sending shivers down Alicia's spine. She was paralyzed with horror when she realized they were surrounded. Knocked unconscious, she awoke tied next to the fire, the creatures encircling Reed. Chapter 7. The Monstrous Revelation. As Alicia was seized by the creatures, Reed's laughter shattered the night. In a chilling revelation, he confessed to being a bounty hunter like Alicia.
I'm like you.
He said, his voice a monstrous echo.
A hunter, but not of your kind. I hunt humans for my kind.
Desperation tinged Alicia's voice as she lay bound.
At least explain to me what is happening before you kill me.
Reed's response was a chilling mix of amusement and nonchalance.
Yes, of course. We're not savages.
He laughed heartily, his laughter echoing ominously off the cave walls. Alicia's heart pounded as she struggled against her restraints.
Why?
She gasped, terror and disbelief in her eyes.
You could have harmed me and dragged me here easily, but instead you almost saved me earlier. And why would anyone choose to live in this cave instead of the civilization out there? What did these creatures offer you? Are you their pawn, afraid of them, or do you have some kind of arrangement?
His eyes gleamed in the firelight as he replied.
When a prey is alive and fresh, it holds more value. And who prefers poison meat? I couldn't let that snake taint the fresh blood and flesh, could I? Many of your fellow bounty hunters fell prey easily, so I had high hopes for my chances with you, especially when Lady Luck smiled on me as your truck broke down.
He gestured around the cave.
What you see outside, the pretense of human life, it's exhausting for my kind. This.
He gestured to the cave around them again.
This is home. This is natural for us.
Alicia, her voice a mix of horror and disbelief, pressed.
What do you mean, natural? And my kind? You're human, not like these cave dwellers.
Reed's smirk widened.
Who said anything about me being human?
Reed stood among the creatures, his form shifting and twisting. His human guise melted away, contorting into a figure resembling the cave's other inhabitants. Reed's inhuman eyes glinted in the firelight.
In our world, the hunt is everything. It's how we gain power and respect. You, Alicia, you're my greatest catch yet.
Alicia's mind raced, the horrific reality sinking in. She realized the grim fate awaiting her. She was not the hunter this time, she was the prey. Chapter 8. The Final Gamble. As the creatures closed in, Alicia closed her eyes, her thoughts a whirlwind of regret and defiance. Her final thoughts were not of fear, but of the haunting realization of the true nature of her prey. She had been outplayed in the most dangerous game of all. As Alicia grappled with the imminent threat of death, an unexpected sensation stirred within her. Her hands, which she believed were securely bound, felt free. Despite her exhaustion and the meager sustenance of the past few days, her ingrained instincts as a seasoned bounty hunter had unknowingly kicked in. While her mind had been preoccupied with the harrowing revelations unfolding before her, her fingers had surreptitiously worked their way to her back pocket, retrieving a small knife. Almost reflexively, they had been slicing through her bindings. A flicker of hope ignited within her, fueling a sudden surge of adrenaline. Gathering her waning strength, Alicia sprang from the ground, her feet carrying her swiftly towards the cave's entrance. Her exceptional tracking skills, ingrained in her memory, guided her through the barely visible surroundings. She was acutely aware of Reed and the grotesque creatures in pursuit, their guttural growls reverberating through the cavernous space. In the midst of her desperate escape, Alicia collided head-on with an unexpected obstacle and tumbled to the ground. Dazed, she looked up to find a torchlight revealing a familiar face in the dim glow. It was another bounty hunter, whose path had crossed hers on various occasions. Unaware of the peril that lay in wait, he inquired about her frantic state and the whereabouts of Reed.
Quiet.
Alicia hissed, pulling him up urgently.
We need to get out of here, now.
But their escape was cut short by the emergence of flickering lights ahead.
I don't recall anyone following me.
The bounty hunter muttered, perplexed. The approaching growls, however, shattered any hope of safety. Realizing they were encircled, Alicia and the bounty hunter veered off in the only direction that seemed devoid of the menacing creatures. After a frantic and disorienting journey through the cave's labyrinthine passages, they paused to catch their breath. The bounty hunter explained his mission to track down a fellow hunter who had vanished while pursuing Reed, leading him to shadow Alicia.
I would normally be furious for being followed,
Alicia admitted.
but right now, I'm just relieved to see another human.
She quickly briefed him on the nightmarish creatures, but he dismissed her claims as fanciful. As Alicia stumbled forward, her boot struck something unexpectedly on the ground. Directing the beam of her torch downward, a grim scene unfolded before her. The cave floor was littered with remnants of human life, backpacks, plastic bottles, tattered clothing, sheets, flashlights, batteries, and more, all heaped in disorderly mounds. The other bounty hunter, his curiosity piqued amidst the macabre discovery, bent down to examine a small, rectangular object. Holding it up to the light, he recognized it instantly.
That's the bounty hunter I was looking for. His ID and license.
He announced, a note of disbelief in his voice. As they sifted through the scattered belongings, they unearthed more IDs and licenses, belonging not only to missing bounty hunters but to several others as well. A shiver ran down Alicia's spine as she voiced a harrowing realization in a whisper.
These must belong to all the people who were probably captured and consumed.
Her hands trembling, Alicia picked up a small, torn notepad from among the items. Its top page bore a hastily scrawled message, seemingly a desperate attempt to convey a warning.
They exist. Exist among us, the Atrium Hyena.
She read aloud, her voice echoing eerily in the cavern.
The Atrium Hyena? What does that mean? Is it referring to these monsters that you claim of?
The other bounty hunter asked, his confusion evident in his tone. Alicia could only gaze back at him, her own understanding as fragmented as the remnants of lives strewn about them. The name Atrium Hyena hung in the air, a cryptic clue to the nightmare that had ensnared them. Before their conversation could progress, the ominous glow of torches began to encircle them. The bounty hunter's skepticism turned to terror as he came face to face with the horrific reality Alicia had described. In a matter of moments, he was violently dragged away, leaving Alicia alone with her despair. Resigned to her fate, Alicia closed her eyes and let out a final, futile scream for help, as the creatures closed in. The darkness of the cave seemed to swallow her whole, marking the end of her harrowing journey in the Black Rock Desert. The end.
Thank you for joining us on Monsters and Mysteries. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the enigmatic and unknown. If you're fascinated by the world of the unexplained, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications on our latest episodes. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you. Who knows what mysteries you might uncover?